What is up, Power Ranger fans? Welcome to Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. I am Jacob Bartley, your host, and this is the show or podcast, whatever you want to call it, where we talk all things Power Rangers. Now, if you're watching this is the very first episode for the Off the Grid YouTube channel, and you notice my channel is called Off the Morphin Grid, and there's a few reasons for that. That was actually the original name of my show when I started it, and I just, because obviously the Morphin Grid is what I'm referring to with Off the Grid, but I just thought it was a little too long of a name, Off the Morphin Grid. I liked Off the Grid, it rolls off the tongue better, and if it's a Power Rangers podcast called Off the Grid, then it's kind of self-explanatory what that is. But as most people know, Off the Grid isn't just a Power Rangers thing. It's Off the Grid is a common saying or common slogan, whatever you want to call it. It means, off the radar, low key, whatever you want to call it. Like if somebody isn't on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they're off the social media grid, for example. So Off the Grid is such a common thing, and so I can't it wasn't available to just name my YouTube channel Off the Grid. And also I just feel like when people see the YouTube channel name, they're not going to know necessarily what it is, maybe by the logo and things like that. But I figured the channel could be called Off the Morphin Grid, so there's no confusion there. But the show is still called Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. I'm not going to name the whole channel that. So there you go. There's an explanation for that. And I'm actually recording this first, but I'm going to put a video up on Bartley and Barnes, the YouTube channel, where I talk about the switch to put Off the Grid onto its own YouTube channel. But I'll talk about it a little bit here. And Bartley and Barnes is still going to be a YouTube channel. The quarantine and the pandemic kind of messed things up for us. Keith and I really love doing that show in person, and we're going to try to start doing that soon safely. And that channel's still going to be intact. It's still going to be the Bartley and Barnes show, us reviewing novels, music. Keith's going to do his own show eventually. So we're going to get that ball rolling again. But I'm moving Off the Grid to its own YouTube channel. You can still view all the past episodes. There's a playlist on this YouTube channel that'll lead you to all the past episodes of Off the Grid. So you can view those if you wanted to. But from now on, it's going to be on this YouTube channel, Off the Grid. And the primary reason for that is I feel like in order to build this YouTube channel or this show, this Power Rangers podcast that I want to do, and I want to eventually have it be one of the go-to Power Ranger outlets for just speculation, theories, reviews, things like that, talking news, talking collectibles, all those kind of things. And I feel like to grow that better is to just have it be its own thing. And I just think that's what's best for it. And if people, those who love Power Rangers and want Power Rangers content, they are going to more likely subscribe to a channel that's just Power Rangers rather than a Bartley and Barnes YouTube channel that kind of does just a lot of different stuff. So that's what I am doing this for. So welcome to the first official episode on this YouTube channel. Of course, it's not the first episode ever. I've done dozens of episodes. But today, I'm a little late on these, but I'm going to talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 53 and Drakkon New Dawn number 1. And the reason I'm late on these, no excuses, but I was in the middle of a move. As you can see, I have a new background. So I was just in the middle of a move, and I didn't have my setup done yet and all those kind of things. And I didn't have time to read these comics. So a little bit of backtracking, but we're definitely going to be on time going forward. And I believe my plan is to I'm also my work schedule's changing a little bit, so I'm gonna also plan on releasing episodes on Mondays. This one's pre-recorded, but eventually I want to go live on Mondays. But we'll talk about that later. But yes, we're gonna talk about those two comic issues. But also I want to talk about something else at the top. But before I do that, go to TeePublic to get yourself an Off the Grid T-shirt. There's a new design. It is freaking awesome. Thank you, Jake Berlin. They have updated logo. These shirts are dope. Go check them out. Go to tpublic.com, search Apocalypse, or search Jake Berlin, or search Off the Grid Power Rangers. Whatever you got to do, I'll put the link in this video as well. Go ahead and search for that to support us and get a Off the Grid t-shirt. I'm telling you, go look at the new design. They're really, really cool. All right, before I get to the comic reviews, I want to talk about something that actually is going to make me a little bit angry, or it did make me a little bit angry. So I've been watching Power Rangers Dino Thunder. I'm currently on a journey to watch all the Power Rangers series. I've talked about this a bunch of times before. Watched all the Power Rangers series from the beginning as an adult. As a kid, I only watched up to Lightspeed Rescue, so everything past Lightspeed Rescue is a new viewing for me. And now I'm on Power Rangers Dino Thunder, and I was excited about this one because you have Dr. Oliver, Tommy Oliver, the original Green Ranger, the White Ranger, the Red Zeo Ranger, the Red Turbo Ranger, up to this point. And he's returning as the Black Dino Ranger in this, and a mentor to these three kids. And I was excited about that. So I wasn't aware of this episode. So a few episodes into that season is the 500th episode of Power Rangers. And so on this episode of Dino Thunder, they kind of do a recap through that show. They do kind of a retelling of all the major events leading from Mighty Morphin all the way up to Dino Thunder. And I was like, this is cool. I'm digging this. It's kind of a nice reminder, little recap. Made me want to go back and watch some of the series. But there's one thing that pissed me off in this, and that is when they're starting with Mighty Morphin, and they're going over all the changes. They talk about Jason, Zach, and Trini leaving. They talk about the Aisha, Rocky, and Adam coming on. They talk about the transfer of the Turbo Rangers. All that stuff, right? So if you've watched this show before, you know one of my favorite Power Rangers of all time, definitely in my top 10, is Tanya. Tanya is she first comes in, she's the first Yellow Zeo Ranger. So in the weirdest episodes of Power Rangers, where the Power Rangers are kids, Aisha goes to some African village and decides to stay there and swap places with Tanya. And Tanya, as a kid, goes to the Power Rangers and gets turned into an adult and is the Yellow Ranger. That's the weirdest thing, right? They don't even mention that in this episode, which they cover basically every other major thing. They cover Jason coming back in Zeo. They talk about all the different mantle passings from different colored Rangers and things like that, but they don't mention Tanya. They don't even touch on the Aisha to Tanya transfer. And I'm not going to get into how potentially racist that might be, but also it really pissed me off because Tanya is one of my favorite Power Rangers of all time. She's just such a positive force, and she is very diverse. Meaning they get into her a lot. She's a radio host. She's a singer. She does all these things where a lot of Power Rangers, they don't really do anything outside of being a Power Ranger. Like, okay, Tommy and Jason teach karate. Kimberly does gymnastics. Yeah, there's things here and there, but I thought they really got into like the talent of Tanya and what she can do outside of being a Power Ranger. And there's so many other different things too. I love that. And I forget the actress's name. Power Rangers Tanya actress. Let me just look this up real quick. And she's one of my favorites. Okay, Nakia Burst. I knew that. So when I went to Power Morphicon in 2018, I think it was 2018, right? Yeah, 2018. Nakia Burst was there like moderating one of the panels, and she was just so great. She was so into it, and you could genuinely into it. So I love her, and I just, that is so messed up that they didn't include that. It would have taken 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds, whatever, to just cover that power transfer from Aisha to Tanya. But whatever. I wonder if people made a big deal about it back then. But yeah, let's get into these comic reviews. So first up, let's talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 53. These Power Rangers, I say, best thing to happen to Power Rangers in a long time. Thank goodness for the comics, because I'm not necessarily a fan of Beast Morphers. It's cool. There's cool elements. I like the cast a lot. The cast is actually the main Ranger. The Ranger cast is actually really good, especially the original 3. And there's things about it I like. It's not the worst season I've ever seen, but I'm not particularly a fan. So these comics are the one thing that keep my love for Power Rangers alive. And they're beyond great. They are from the beginning of these Boom comic series to now, it's just beyond amazing. It's great storytelling regardless if you're a Power Ranger or not. And great mythology, just like Power Rangers always has been. So I always review the comics on this YouTube channel and on this show. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 53. So we're in the post Jason era. Jason, Trini, and Zach are the Omega Rangers doing their own thing, and we're getting their series pretty soon. It's going to be called just Power Rangers, and then these Rangers are going to continue with Mighty Morphin, and there's going to be 2 ongoing series there. And I love that, because Go-Go Power Rangers ended, and I love that, but it finally caught up to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So basically, last issue left off with Zed giving the Dark Ranger powers to Goldar and the other Finster and the other minions, right? And then Rita walks in, and as far as we know, she's locked away still. And she starts fighting some of the putties and stuff, and Zed stabs her. And it turns out it's not Rita. It's a putty who it has transformed into Rita, is pretending to be Rita. So Zed stabs her, and he says, well, you're not Rita, but you're a formidable fighter. I'm going to make you the Dark Red Ranger. So that's what's going on there with Zed and those minions. Then it cuts to, which is the most interesting thing here, which is Billy and Grace at Promethea, and they've reactivated the green dragon coin. I absolutely freaking love this. We know that the Mighty Morphin line coming up is going to have the Green Ranger in it. So we already knew that. But I've been saying for years, for over 2 years, that they're going to bring the Green Ranger back, and they're going to have the White Ranger and the Green Ranger on the same Mighty Morphin team. I've been saying that for over 2 years. And I've been predicting that it's going to be Matt. Now that they've activated this coin, Billy's like, okay, let's go to Zordon. Let's see what he wants to do with it. Grace says, no, Zordon is just going to freak out and not trust us. And he's going to already find it to be bad faith that we've been creating or bringing back this dragon coin without telling him. So he's not going to trust us. He's going to take it and not give it to anybody or give it to the wrong person. And so they start getting into a debate who they should give it to. Grace has a list of names she's been looking at. Billy wasn't really prepared for it, but he thinks he has some good input into who it should be. And Grace kind of just goes down this rabbit hole a little bit of suggesting Drakkon. And Billy's like, hell no. Why would you even say that? And she's saying, well, if it came down to it, if our lives were in the balance, like if it came down to saving the world or saving our lives, who's the best fighter to use it. And she has a point, but the thing is, you can't give Drakkon that power again. There's no way you can give Drakkon that power. That would be idiotic. He's straight evil. But we do know that we heard in the synopsis for the Power Rangers, the Omega Rangers line, that they're gonna want to seek Drakkon's help for something, and against Zordon's wishes, and they end up, I think it says that they end up going to get Drakkon to use them, and I think they're leading up to a civil war between the Omega Rangers and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is going to be epic, and I think Drakkon's going to be on their side, and they're going to have a Green Ranger on the Mighty Morphin side, so that's going to be interesting. But look, the thing is, they faded Matt out of the story so much. It's still possible, because we know that he, it wants to be a Power Ranger. He tried to get involved in the action a lot. So it's still possible, but they haven't touched on Matt a lot lately. Although they did show him talking to Rocky at the school. So my money's still on Matt, just because that was my original guess. I'm going with Matt. It makes the most sense. I don't see anyone else who could possibly be. They're not going to give it to Drakkon. So I'm going to go with Matt, even though I don't feel as good about that as I did when I first came up with that theory. So then, of course, the Dark Rangers attack the city. Power Rangers shows up. They start fighting. A lot of banter between them. And then Zed makes the Dark Rangers grow. And that's where the issue cuts. So they're going to call in the Zords and fight the Dark Rangers when they're big. But like I said, Dark Ranger stuff wasn't what I was focused on this issue. It's whatever. They look cool, but it's whatever. But to me, the interesting stuff is the Green Dragon coin being reactivated, Billy and Grace's kind of philosophical debate on how they should go about finding somebody to take on the Dragon coin. And go look, I have a video, one of my podcast episodes is named Who's Worthy of the Green Dragon coin. I've been talking about this for years. So that just super excites me for sure. But yes, let me know in the comment section what you thought of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 53. I'm curious about your thoughts. Who do you think will become the new Green Ranger? That's going to be probably the most anticipated thing going into those new issues that come out later this year. All right, so on to Drakkon New Dawn number 1. And I am so excited about this because when they did the Ranger Slayer number 1, they said it was a one-off. And like I said, I've been very busy, so I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't know they were actually doing a 3-issue miniseries of what happens after she becomes the leader of that coinless world. So just the existence of this is amazing. And I actually really like this. If other than the Dragon coin stuff in the 53, I prefer this New Dawn number 1. Just overall is very entertaining. They kind of show what the world's like after Ranger Slayer has taken over as the new ruler. That hostility between the coinless rebels and those ex-Ranger sentries has not gone away. They're now living in the same city, the same society. So that hostility has not gone away. And it's still going on. So there's a citizen who attacks a sentry and gets brought, an ex-sentry, and gets brought to the castle. And Scorpino wants to kill him. But of course, Kimberly's like, no, we're not doing that. She's just trying to show him mercy. And he tries to assassinate her. And then they're like, okay, now we have to kill him. And she's like, no, we're not. And this all leads to her wanting to go to this deadlock prison that Drakkon kept, where he kept a whole bunch of people in there, some people who kind of probably disobeyed throughout the years, and it's heavily guarded with sentries, and apparently they didn't know what was going on. They've been stuck there, and they didn't know what was going on outside of there. So that's kind of what I got from it. And so she's like, okay, let's go release these people from this deadlock prison because he put people in there just for insubordinates and not following his, his strict rules that he wanted in his world. So they go off there. I love that Scorpina has kind of became a main character in this. Like, once this ends, who knows what they're going to do with this once this ends. We're going to see Ranger Slayer back. She's too great of a character. But the thing is, if there's ever... So we know in the main Mighty Morphin line that there's some... Drakkon was scared of something. And so there's... And in the Omega Rangers, the last issue, they faced some... They were on a planet and some being came. So there's something big coming. There's possibly a big war coming. And if now that the Power Rangers have Ranger Slayer on their side in Earth 1 or whatever we want to call it, I have a feeling after this 3-issue run, Ranger Slayer is going to have this world, have her army. When the Power Rangers need her, they're going to be able to call on her and her whole entire army full of rebels and sentries to help with that fight, which that is going to be amazing. Man, I wish this was just in like live action or animated form. Because in my mind when I'm playing it out, that's how I envision it. But that's just shows how much the comics pop off the page. I think it's just amazing. But regarding so they go to Deadlock, they get in. The prisoners think that this is a test from Drakkon, that these people are trying to break them out, and if they kind of kill these people, then Drakkon will set them free. They think it's a test, so they start getting attacked all over by different people, and I think some of the sentries that were still there are attacking them as well. And they kind of set this up earlier in the issue and in a little bit in the previous one, I believe, where the Adam in the Coinless world, who was a sentry, kind of has a flirtatious relationship with Scorpina, and they have a little bit of banter. She says something like, "Oh, I could rule you," or something, and he's like, "I think I would like that." So there's some kind of romance going on there, which is kind of cool because both Adam and Scorpina are characters that didn't have a lot of development on the TV show. So I love that. And I've always loved Scorpina. I don't like when she turns into a big monster and she looks like a scorpion. I don't know why she can't just be her, but that's probably the footage from, from the Super Sentai footage. So whatever. But I like that they're diving into having Scorpina and Adam have this kind of flirtatious relationship. It's kind of cool. And I don't think Adam ever had a real romance. He might have had one episode. They always would do one episode where one character's into a girl and then they never address it again. But like to have this Adam have Scorpina, that's pretty cool. So the most interesting thing in this issue, and this excites me a lot because I have a theory about this. So Ranger Slayer falls into some secret hallway. She goes in and there's this Ranger locked up. And this was so fascinating. So she goes and talks to him, and he doesn't remember who he is. He has a suit on. They can't get it off. He doesn't want her to release him, which we'll get to that in a second. But they start talking, and then she's like, "Come on, we can help you." And then she takes him back with they release all the other prisoners. She takes them back, this mysterious ranger, back to the castle. Now she's interrogating him in the castle. Finster's trying to get the suit off of him, and he says he doesn't remember who he is, but he remembers why Drakkon held him captive. And they do a flashback where Drakkon has him captive and is basically put him in this suit, knows this guy can fight, knows this guy's powerful. So Drakkon feels like he doesn't have anyone to be honest with him because they fear him too much, and he doesn't have anybody to challenge him in a fight physically. So they would show Drakkon talking to this mysterious ranger, and he would ask for advice basically because no one else would be honest with him. So he's like, what would you do in this scenario? Or how would you defeat me in this way? And then he would let him loose so they could fight, but he could always restrain him. I think he had a way to control the suit so he could have this guy fight him so he could challenge him physically, but then he could lock him back up easily. I'm telling you guys, this is the Coinless World's Jason. I know in the Shattered Grid story, they show Drakkon killing Jason, the Coinless World Jason, and as far as we know, he's dead. But who else would he keep alive that could challenge him? I'm telling you, this is the Coinless World's Jason. And that is so cool because we know Ranger Slayer is very different from the Kimberly in the regular world. Most of the characters are a little bit different from the regular world. But in this Coinless world, there is no Jason. We've never met him. We saw him get killed by Drakkon. But it's very plausible that Drakkon, knowing that, Tommy, knowing that Jason has been one of the only ones who can challenge him in a fight, saving him to be honest with him and to be that person who can challenge him in a fight, it makes the most sense. I don't know who else it could possibly be. Another version of Tommy? I don't know. But I think this is Coinless World Jason. It just makes the most sense to me. So I can't wait to find that out. But basically, the reason I think this is what happened. The reason why the mysterious Ranger didn't want Ranger Slayer to remove him, I think him being removed and taken back to the castle sent off some type of beacon to some aliens. And because at the end of the episode, or the end of the issue, we see aliens show up, and they kind of look like the leader of this is like a female version. I think it's from Lost Galaxy, that guy with the black and green, that black rocky skin, or, not skin, but you know what I mean. And it's like green in the inside. I forget his name, but it looks like a female version of that character. And she brings some type of army with her, and now they're going to attack this Coinless world. But yes, that stuff with Drakkon holding somebody hostage to challenge him was so fascinating. I loved it. And if it's Coinless Jason, man, that is so cool. So overall, I love this issue. I think, from beginning to end, I like it more than 53. And not that we need to compare them, but I'm just talking about these two today. So this is the one I enjoyed thoroughly more. But I do love the green dragon coin tidbits in 53. Like, that is something that I've been speculating for so long. But Drakkon New Dawn excites me very much. And again, let me know your thoughts on Drakkon New Dawn. Do you think that's Jason? I want to hear your thoughts, because I don't see who else it could be. That's going to do it for this episode of Off the Grid. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And please subscribe to Off the Morphin Grid, the YouTube channel. I'm going to take this channel to new heights. I freaking love Power Rangers. And look, it's not that Power Rangers is the only thing that I love and the only thing that I'm passionate about. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big MCU fan. I'm a big DC fan. I love a ton of other things. But the thing is, there's already 1,000 shows on Star Wars stuff. There's already 1,000 shows on the MCU, and there's already 1,000 shows on DC stuff. There's a pretty good community of Power Ranger podcasts and not podcasts, but Power Rangers YouTube channels out there that do a lot of shorter videos and reviews. Ranger Liz is like probably the number one Power Rangers podcaster out there that I know of. There might be somebody else, but like she does her Ranger Weekend reviews, and not that I want to challenge her or anything like that, but her show is very different from what I want mine to be. Mine, look, I go into depth on these comics, like every detail, and I want more of like a speculative, like hour long, 30 minutes to hour long. Definitely when I get a co-host one day, hour long show where we just dive deep into Power Rangers stuff. And we're going to be talking TV shows, movies, comics, collectibles, everything. So I can't wait for that. But yes, thank you for joining me. I am Jacob Bartley. Please subscribe to Off the Morphin Grid YouTube channel. Going to be talking a bunch of Power Ranger stuff. Until next time, may the power protect you.